As of this week, players are free to register for our community playtesting program.
NHL 24 is almost upon us, and in this video I'm going to break down EA NHL's first sit-down developer talk regarding NHL 24. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the NHL 24 Live Community Day, which had over 30 creators from the video game side as well as hockey and lifestyle invited out to Vancouver to check out the studio and playtest the game, myself included. So I've got some behind-the-scenes stuff that I can show you from my time at EA. But let's dive into the NHL's dev talk regarding NHL 24. There's a lot of info in this conversation that I want to break down and pick apart. If you want to watch the entire thing, the link is down below. I'm going to pull apart the pieces that I think are the most important in my opinion. So immediately, I want to talk about Mike Engelhart and Chris Aluk, the creative director and the senior producer for the NHL franchise. Both of these gentlemen joined the NHL development team and began leading it in the development cycle for NHL 23. And a lot of what you're going to hear is a ton of transparency and some of their ideas and thoughts and how they want to shape the franchise.
When it comes to looking back at the past, like NHL 23, we know it didn't live up to your expectations. We recognize that, and that's something we definitely are going to try and course correct with NHL 24.
So while you can't forget that NHL 23 was, in my mind, the worst NHL game we've gotten in the franchise since NHL 15, you have to at least appreciate the fact that they admit to NHL being extremely substandard. We haven't seen this level of transparency from the EA dev team ever, in at least my time being a full-time content creator for the NHL franchise.
As of this week, players are free to register for our community playtesting program, which is where we put our game out in the wild. This is where we allow players to get hands-on with everything in our product. And specifically this year, I know that we're focused on Hut and World of Chell being our two premier modes that we obviously want to get feedback on.
So Chris gives us some more in-depth info regarding the playtest for NHL 24. It has been confirmed that it will run from August 21st to 27th. If you haven't already signed up for the playtest, the link is down below. Make sure you get involved because for the first time in years, Hockey Ultimate Team is going to be in the playtest. That's huge for my fellow 1v1 players.
The big thing we're doing this year is opening up an official EA Sports NHL Discord channel, and that'll be coming after reveal. So that's the place where you can expect, more one-on-one conversation, get your questions answered, hear about the news, hear about, where we're going, and just creating a place where a player can come in and sort of just be involved in the EA Sports NHL community.
So Clappy announces that we will get an official NHL Discord that will look to funnel feedback from all different communities straight to the developers. I have a few questions and I'm very, very curious to see how they're going to tackle this. First, because I know that there are so many passionate NHL fans. The sheer amount of people joining the Discord is going to be crazy, as it should be. So are they going to hire or utilize some of the developers to discuss every day, every week? How are they going to keep up with all the interactions? Super curious to see how that's handled. However, I do think it is very important for them to release something like this, simply because it allows them to get information out in one place. As it stands right now, the best place for information is really the creators, as well as Reddit and some Facebook groups as well. So stuff's all over the place. I think this is a net positive, but I'm very, very skeptical on how they're going to keep up with this because I know myself, my own Discord, if you haven't joined that, make sure you do, has almost 4,000 members in it. And come launch of the game, it is extremely difficult for me to see everything because the chat's just always flowing. A little sneaky look at what appears to be a fishing celly being added into the game.
So with GM Connected, that's something we haven't publicly addressed for a while now. But what we know, everyone requests it, so how do we get to a connected franchise mode?
Well, first of all, I'm glad we got the G word out in the open and on the table. So, we haven't been here that long. Like, for the time that we've been here, we've been exploring numerous different ways to try to figure out how to get this mode revitalized, alive, and bring it back into the franchise. The one challenge, though, when we look back at what GM Connected was when it first came out, is it was a very big mode. And so trying to actually tackle this thing in a single year, it's really tough for us to do. So it's not something we know we can nail in a single cycle the way it was created in the past. If we twist away from the G word and talk about it in a different way, connected franchise is the way we're starting to think about this experience and modernizing it, changing it around, and figuring out again what those expectations are and figuring out what are the requirements, what are the things people really want to see in this mode so we reimagine it correctly. We're looking at different things too, like multi-year development paths, which give us a chance to tackle bigger things. It won't be in 24, but we're going to continue talking about it. This is sort of opening the conversation, and we'll continue talking talking about this topic and feature as we go forward.
All right, a lot to unpack here. The fact that they mentioned GM Connected kind of says a lot. And it sounds more like it's not an if, but when situation now that we will receive GM Connected or some sort of iteration of it back into the game. Now, there is a few things that he said in there that might be a little overlooked. Number one is that they don't want to just bring back a mode for the sake of bringing back a mode. They want to make sure that when it comes back into the game, they remove all of the things that were not really effective inside of that mode. GM Connected, if you go back to NHL 14, while everyone remembers it as this perfect nostalgia, fantastic mode, it barely operated. I played it with about 10 of my friends at the time, and it would take like 3 hours to sim a week. The app always crashed. So I think that a lot of the fond memories you have of GM Connected are held up by nostalgia, and the fact that they don't want to just bring back a broken mode, they want to make sure that when it comes back, it's fully flushed out. That's a net positive. The other thing I want to bring up is that Mike alluded to multi-year planning and strategy for modes. When we think back to the last few years of NHL, it just feels like there's these small little things added in for the sake of trying to make a back-of-the-box feature. I'll give you an example, like the Michigan or the Zegras flip pass. That was such a marketed big thing added into the game, but in reality, it was very small. It was what they were able to do in one dev cycle to kind of check off a few boxes and then move on. What I'm hearing from Mike in this is that they're going to start implementing big mode changes and game changes that won't just be rushed out in one development cycle, because a year-over-year game is extremely difficult to bring a ton of new things to it in the short period of time that they have. So the fact that they're planning to add modes in and updates to the game that are going to be more than just 1 year out, I think that's actually a good thing, especially when it comes to something as big as GM Connected.
In terms of that social connection pillar, I've got to ask, how's crossplay coming along, as well as other social elements we're looking to add into the game this year?
Yeah, I mean, that story, we started that journey last year in 23. It was going to be too much again to do in a single cycle. So we said, okay, this is going to be a multi-cycle feature again, and that was just a reality. So last year we focused on, let's at least get the foundation in place, which is allowing people to have cross-platform matchmaking. So you weren't able to team up, but at least you could finally compete. And then for 24, it was like, let's complete the circle. So for 24, we're happy that we're actually going to be bringing true crossplay into World of Chell. So finally, you're going to be able to, if you're on Sony and I'm on Microsoft, we're going to finally be able to link up, be on the same team, and close that circle, delivering that expectation. So I'm happy that we've been able to do that for this year.
So we've got confirmation that full crossplay will be in NHL 24. In NHL 23, they started a crossplay, allowing World of Chell players to play a full team of Xbox or PlayStation 5 members against the opposite console. You weren't able to mix and match teams, but now in NHL 24, you're going to be able to do that. We also got a first-hand look at the social hub, where it looks like you're going to be able to, again, invite players from the opposite console.
In terms of our final pillar, gameplay innovation, obviously when you think NHL, gameplay has been like the hallmark of the series for a very long time. What's coming down the pipeline for gameplay this year and even into the future?
Gameplay is the one thing that actually waterfalls across every single mode in the game. So it is a big focus. For 24, it's been one of the biggest focuses in the short time that I've actually been here. We've come up with a ton of new gameplay changes this year that change the game from the opening face-off forward. We've revamped a lot of the different meta systems in the game. You're going to feel differences in terms of how you attack, how you defend, the tactics that go into that. Even how you pass and hit is going to be new and fresh, and I think people are really going to enjoy what's actually there.
All right, so let's talk gameplay. I was actually able to test out and play NHL 24 at my time in BC, and while I'm not allowed to discuss all of the new features and everything going into gameplay this year, I can say this. In my time playing the NHL franchise, I don't remember the last time that a year-over-year change to gameplay for the NHL series has been this significant. The last time it's even close to this is probably the skill stick being added into the game. Now, I want you guys to understand, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be great. I think gameplay is the most subjective thing. Everyone has their own opinion on gameplay, and I don't think we'll ever reach a point where universally it's loved across the board. But I can confirm, if you hated NHL 23's gameplay, this is completely different. And I'm really excited for everyone to try out the gameplay in the technical test, because while I did enjoy my time playing it so far, I cannot wait to see what your guys' reaction is to it, because like I said, it is by far the biggest change year over year that we've had.
One of the areas that we're exploring is tech-driven gameplay. and what that means to us. Does that unlock volumetric capture, where we can get unique animations for every single player on the ice in the NHL, and what that would bring for this franchise, and how we position ourselves to have authentic strategies as well with the data that we get back from the NHL and what that can unlock for us.
This is the last point that I want to bring up, and it's actually extremely significant about the future of the NHL franchise. Now, like I mentioned, at my time in EA, I was able to talk to Chris and Mike one-on-one and kind of get some just general feedback and what they think would be really exciting in the game. And what Chris is alluding to here with volumetric capture and tech-driven gameplay is the ability to use the info that the NHL is capturing. So if you aren't aware, the NHL actually captures inside of everyone's jersey their movements, how fast they're going, where they are on the ice, their ice time, all of that. And if in the future they're able to use that technology to then put into the NHL franchise, it would be massive. One of the biggest issues in NHL, in my opinion, especially in Hockey Ultimate Team, is the fact that there are no custom skating strides or custom shots, really. What this capture and tech would allow is to put everyone's individual shot and skating stride into the game, for example. Now, I think we're years off from something like that, but I just wanted to mention that because that's a really cool note that I didn't really know was even an option or something that could be on the table even in the future. So this was a great first step from EA in an effort to be more transparent with their player base. I think this is a fantastic idea, but it needs to continue. EA has a long track record of implementing new things and new ideas, only for them to never be seen again a month after release of the game. Anytime that there is an update or something noteworthy to discuss, I would love to see these developer meetings where they handle the biggest questions from the community at that time. If they do that, keep up to date with the Discord, and remain as transparent as they have in this video, that's gonna go a long way in my opinion. So let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and make sure you're subscribed for the most up-to-date news, tips, and info for NHL 24. I'll see you guys next time.
Oh, bro, what's happening? Oh my